Hello everybody and welcome to another light novel review. In this video I'm reviewing volume number 1 of Light Tuchihi's light novel series, The Hero is Overpowered, but Overly Cautious. This one is released officially in English by Yenon with a translation by Matt Rutsohn. It has illustrations by Saori Toyota. This one, it is a isekai series, although a little bit different. There's kind of a little twist to it. In any case, if you'd like to pick up your own copy of this one, I do have links to several retailers in the description down below, and yes, full disclosure, they are affiliate links, so thanks for using them. The Hero is Overpowered, but Overly Cautious is the story of Restart, or more commonly known as Lista. She is a relatively new and young goddess who, up to date, has had some pretty good success with some worlds that have low-level problems. However, today she's been handed an S-ranked world. What does that mean? That means this world's got problems on a Demon Lord scale, if not even a little worse, or even a worse Demon Lord than typical. In other words, this is like one of the most challenging things you can be assigned as a goddess, is to try and save a S-ranked world. So Lista decides, I need to find the perfect candidate to save this world, and so she goes through all sorts of information and everything else, and she decides on this one candidate who has mind-boggling stats, and the only thing that it has as a caution note is that he's overly cautious. And she's like, well, hey, you're going to be fighting lots of battles against demons and monsters. You should be cautious. That's actually a pretty good thing. So she ends up summoning Seiya, who is a Japanese young man, and well, sure enough, he's as advertised, he's very, very powerful, but overly cautious, to the point where Lista starts having some serious doubts about this hero that she has summoned to save this world. She starts thinking to herself, maybe I've summoned a bit of a crackpot to save this world, and it's pretty much doomed. And so we follow the beginning adventures of Seiya and Lista as they travel across this S-ranked world to, well, either save it or not save it because it's just too much of a risk. Now, right off the start, I have to say this book is a perfect textbook example of how the point of view character can make or break a novel. This book is told in the first-person perspective from Lista's point of view, which is a little bit different because, again, the goddess doing the summoning is the main character, arguably the main character, which is quite unlike pretty much every isekai that I can think of that I've read to date. So it's not typical that we see things from the goddess's point of view. So that makes it slightly different. It's also really entertaining because Lista is this fun character who, of course, feels the need to be a goddess, to present the proper face and decorum of goddess, but at the same time, she's young, she's rough around the edges, she, might just swear here and there, so she is a really good character to watch this whole thing unfold fun. Plus, Seiya is one of those really stoic, doesn't say much kind of main characters, kind of heroes. He's one of those heroes that, really, I honestly think that the book would be boring if we were inside his head. Not to mention that a lot of the comedy in this book, and of course it is a comedy, I'm pretty sure you guys could figure that out from just the title alone, but the whole thing about this is that a lot of the comedy comes from Lista not knowing what is going on in Seiya's head and being surprised by the things that Seiya either does or even in terms of how his interactions with other characters seems to change those characters. There is a lot of back and forth. This is very much one of those first novels where the hero does a lot of training. Now, a lot of that is because Seiya insists on it. Again, that whole overly cautious thing. One of the very first things that Seiya does is pretty much pull out a top-tier, high-level attack to take out the lowliest little slime monster. So it kind of gives you an idea of what's going on in terms of his whole overly cautious thing. A number of times throughout the book, they travel from the world that they're meant to save back to the world of the gods and goddesses in order to have Seiya train with different gods or goddesses to improve his skills. And as I said, that's kind of part of the comedy, is to see these characters that Rista knows and expects them to be a certain way, and to see how they change depending on their interactions with Seiya. And I will say there were a number of times that I really did laugh at this book. There were some good chuckles that I had at this book. And like, honestly, all of it is because of Rista. And that is why I say it is her point of view that really makes or breaks this whole book. Otherwise, this book is a really mundane light novel. I mean, it is really by the numbers kind of isekai type series, right? We're fighting a demon lord. The demons that he's fighting aren't really that much different than a lot of other demon generals and demons and stuff that we've seen in a plethora of other light novels. Even the gods and goddesses, I wouldn't say are overly unique characters when, again, we look at other books that we've seen. As I said, the only thing that really sets us apart when we talk about gods and goddesses is that the goddess is taking a direct approach to this whole thing. I know, obviously, Konosuba, Aqua is a goddess who is a main character in the series. I know that, but we don't see the book told from her point of view, whereas in this one we do, from Rista's. And also remember, Aqua was a completely unwilling participant in the whole thing with Kazuma, and whereas in this case Rista is willingly traveling with Seiya to try and save this world. A lot of the times she can't do much because goddesses are prevented from directly intervening in the world, hence why they have to summon heroes. So a lot of the times it really is just her kind of standing there with her hands tied, and she's like, well, I can't do much other than provide like blessings and things like that goddesses are supposed to do. But when it comes to fighting monsters and overcoming those kind of things, all she can do is watch and hope. And there are a lot of times where she's really not too sure just what the heck is going to happen next. So there's not a ton that's really super original in this. I mean, like I said, you've got your training part of the arc. You've got your fight the bad guys kind of arc. Most of the characters all fit very nicely into certain archetypes. It really is just the point of view that provides the comedy for this book, and provides any kind of surprises. Seiya, if we followed the story around in his head, I think this would be a really boring beat it with a stick kind of light novel that I would have no interest in reading anymore. Even like there's an anime adaptation of this one running right now, and even that, if you take a look, what are the memes? What are the screenshots you're seeing? It's all of the different facial expressions of Rista, which tells you right away, like, she is the reason this works. She is the thing that holds this all together. And the one thing that I really worry about is that as much as I did get some laughs out of this, as much as I, did find myself kind of chuckling and thinking, I might read some more of this, is kind of fun, I worry that shtick isn't going to carry this series for a long time, that it is going to become very by the numbers and very rote. And I know that we're told right off the bat that the hero is overpowered, and you're never really worried that Seiya's ever going to lose. But yeah, it was my kind of worry when I was finishing this up. I was like, it's got some good laughs, but like, how long is this going to be funny, really? The only other thing that I did like, at least, and again, I wouldn't say it's incredibly unique, but you don't see it happen all the time in isekai light novels, or especially in comedy type isekais, where both the bad and the good guys kind of go to some pretty crazy extremes to try and defeat each other. I don't want to really get into it because I don't want to get into any heavy spoilers, but there's a whole sort of tail end to this book that went in a direction that I will fully admit I did not see coming right from the get-go. And again, even Seiya's character, I think the good thing is because we're not in his head, we really have no idea whether he is a good guy, whether he's a complete jerk, whether he truly values the people who travels with him as human beings, or whether he values them as people who carry his bags. And that's another thing that I, again, like I said, point of view character. That's what makes it funny. That's what makes it interesting. Because you're guessing about this character because you have no idea what he's really thinking. In terms of the art for this one, it's actually kind of funny because the art is really well done and very, very, very suited to more serious type light novels, adventure, action, isekai type light novels. Like, I kind of thought that you would play up the funny, especially, like I said, given the anime's predisposition to play up Rista's expressions and stuff. But as you can see from the one or two images or so that I'm posting here next to me, the artwork is much more your very typical, quite detailed, like it's actually really well done artwork for more of like an action type isekai. So kind of a different tone, but definitely enjoyable, and you know, really doesn't give you a lot of idea. Like, it's great looking art, but it doesn't really give you an idea of the flavor of this book really, but maybe that's kind of part of its charm. So all in all, the hero is overpowered but overly cautious. Not a bad read. Like I said, definitely some laughs in this one. And I mean like out loud laughing, not just little No, I mean, like, I actually chuckled, which was really good. I was reading this at, my mom was in the hospital. I think I told you guys, at least on my other social medias. So I was reading this in the hospital, which was nice because it was kind of provided a bit of levity. So that gives you an idea that, yeah, I mean, it did have some good laughs in it. It was entertaining. Like I said, you know, all the stuff that I'm seeing online, people laughing at the, you know, just Rista's expressions and how she reacts and stuff like that. I'm glad that the anime seems to be putting a lot of effort into her expressions and such, because it really does it is what makes this book entertaining. But as I said, my main concern, I mean, in terms of plot, you're probably not all going to be blown away by anything in this, but in terms of the funny, the laughs, that I kind of wonder just where it's going to go. I think this series is going to really be one of those ones that is going to have to rely on sort of the Konosuba thing, where you have a bunch of madcap characters introduced as the series goes along to keep it colorful, and it'll have to keep being told by Rista's point of view, where she really has no idea what other people are thinking or why they're doing what they're doing, keeping things unpredictable. That's the only way I can see this series really having some good legs and carrying forward, and so I don't know if it does that. I guess I will see. As I said, I enjoyed it enough that I would absolutely not mind reading some more of it, just to see sort of the direction that the book takes. In this video, I want to say a special thanks to Cine, Megas, Michaela Werner, Philip Volseberg, and Ricardo Matos for their support on Patreon, as well as the support of all of my patrons who continue to help me fund this channel, to buy books for reviews, as well as to pay for additional hosting for the Light Novel Podcast so it can be on as many platforms as possible. For my next review, I'm going to be returning to the emotionally painful world of Makoto Shinkai, and that's going to be the adaptation of his animated film 5 centimeters per second. This one much more of a slice of life type story, following two kids who fall in love and then go about their lives away from each other. Yeah, you can look forward to lots of heart-sobbing stuff in my next video. In the meantime, thanks for joining me in this review, and I hope you'll check out my next video as well. Until then, bye-bye for now.